Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, it is SeKo Starcraft, playing one of his latter games, Omniscient versus MoMo. Yeah, playing my Protoss. Gonna try to mix in a few of these games. I find them exceedingly interesting. Like all my other races, I'm still having trouble with late game. But I seem to have the basic understanding of the early to mid game somewhat down. So we'll see how this goes in this game. I'm actually watching this replay for the first time just to get a little bit better of an understanding of where some of my strengths and weaknesses are. Playing up against a zerg player that obviously has been the more interesting thing for me. I'm very used to playing zerg against Protoss. Now on the other side, I'm interested to see if the tactics I used left me really open for attacks, and if the stuff that I did really worked out best to my advantage, or if there were other things I could have done a lot better. And I know there were things I could do better because I stuck at Protoss. But, that is not the most important thing right now. So we're coming up here for a scouty scout. I'm throwing down a forge first, so that way if he decides to go for an expansion right away, I can punish him, because that's what I likes to do. Down goes his worker. He knows I was going to be able to block it, so he smartly throws down a pool. I think that's very wise for him. I did see that go down. Still, for me, I'm just going to try to give myself a little bit of an advantage. I know that's a bit of an investment to do that, but in my mind, I really just want to be as big of a dick as possible and give myself that back home advantage. Continuing to just work her up. In my mindset, my plan for this game is to go for a 2-base gateway attack. That's what I really want to do here. We see he's getting a gas now as well. He's keeping his spending pretty low, considering, but this is obviously where he wants to be expanding. His supply starting to dart up a little bit higher. He still can't get his hatch down. So I'm liking that I managed to do this a little bit, forcing him into a bit more of a tough position if I can do so. Now he can get himself out with some lings to try to put the pressure and take down that pylon. At home, gateway, cannon, just to be able to defend that. And I'm going to be able to throw down my nexus when my probe returns home. He is just going to take this base up here. It would have been nice for me to scout that, actually, in hindsight. It's important to know when those expansions are happening. This expansion is so delayed. I just assumed that this player wasn't that good and therefore just didn't expand. But it's very worthwhile to keep your probes running around just to be able to see where those expansions are. Nexus is down. Not that far behind my opponent. I am supply blocked because I didn't build another pylon because of my pylon up front. I'm going to completely wall off at the front because a zealot, as far as I can tell, wouldn't take up the same space as a pylon, and that fits in there. Units wise, we can see I've got a pretty good lead on workers just because I'm focusing more on that, whereas he is getting himself out a pile of lings here, maybe looking to put down a bit more pressure. Speed is on the way, another queen starting up. This base has not happened yet. He's kind of blocking himself there. Does that seem off to you? Does that look off? Looks like it's a hex over too far. Whoopie-doo, who cares? Anyways, he's got both those bases going down. My Nexus is finishing up soon. My Cyber Core is very delayed. Very much delayed. And I'm going to start getting down some more gateways. I should have had my Cybernetics Core up a while ago so I can start getting my Warp Gate research happening sooner. I only have one gas right now. That's alright, because I see that he is mostly on Zerglings at this moment. The rest of what is going on with him, I'm not super aware. Still producing more and more Zerglings. Looks like he wants to deny any type of pressure or scouting that I would be doing on my side. Starting to produce probes from both Nexuses now. We'll look at what the Zerg player is doing here. He is moving his queens around. It's good for him. Still producing workers. Keeping one gas going just so he can start teching up better. I was afraid that he'd just baneling bust me. It's something that I do once in a while when I see this kind of a wall. I'm like, I can hit that, and then I will win. But that is a bit of a risk. Sorry about that. This is actually... I had a phone call, and it's very interesting, because it's about this point where I got a phone call as well. I'm chrono boosting myself out of a sentry just to be a bit more safe. It's about this moment in the game I actually got a phone call because my computer is getting fixed. One of the hard drives crapped out on my Mac. And it looks like he's going to try to do a little bit of bustage here. I'm not going to hurry to throw down my force field. I want to make sure that obviously I throw it down at the last possible moment. Another big pile of lings coming up as he's getting his lair. My warp gate is still like just only half done, but now I'm going to get down my final gateway, so I'll be at 6 gates. That seems like a pretty good force field. I'm alright with that. I am chrono boosting out another sentry in case I need it, but it looks like I actually cut through that stuff pretty good. As a zerg player, if you see this, busting it with zerglings is super tough. Banelings, you can come in here, force a couple force fields and bounce back. But by now, if you play against a good Protoss, not me, you're generally going to find that they have the opportunity to chrono boost out a couple more warped in sentries, and then you find yourself really investing a lot, whereas right now, he should be ahead on workers with his 3-base economy, but he spent a lot on lings. Finally getting all my warp gates done. Now, the smart thing for me to have done would have been to get a pylon on the high ground or to get a forward pylon already ready. With my wall in here, obviously that makes it more difficult. Getting myself a +1, because I know I'm going against lings. I need to be able to have the units that kill lings a lot faster. So, this is a pretty good job on this base up here. Getting saturated pretty good. Injecting crawlers for defense. Me likey. It's nice to get a spore crawler. He does have a spire down as well. Now I should see that this is coming out. I supply blocked myself at the same time as doing this, but I'm building more pylons behind it. I'm going to bring a pylon probe outside the wall off again, so I can warp in if I need to. And this guy, you should see this happening. If you see this probe, you have to go track it down. You got to take these links and go hunt down that probe, because that is what is going to allow the Protoss player to really get that advantage. MoMo. He's doing quite well, still getting lots of workers, so we see him pulling quite ahead now in the worker lead because of that. I'm still producing workers at home, just in case. I'm not taking my gas yet, because I'm going to focus on a lot of zealots as I'm moving forward. Got enough now. I know that he sees this, because I saw the glimpse of that overlord. I'm going to come down here, put down my forward pylon. It's probably worthwhile to throw down more than one forward pylon in case something bad happens. And I'm going to come forward and I'm going to see that he is starting to really get down all of these defenses. So I'm going to have to wait for another warp in here in my mind before I'm going to be able to do this. I'm chrono boosting my warp gates at home, so that way I can try to get out as many units as I can. Zealots are going to be my primary focus. He is getting mutas right now that I'm not aware of, but my +1 stalkers should be good, +1 armor happening as well. So now I have enough units. Now I'm going to push in, hopefully trying to get here before these crawlers finish. Couple sentries probably would have been better to get myself the guardian shield. Instead, what I'm trying to do is just narrow down the chokes for all of his units here. Unfortunately, they are locking out some of my zealots. Mutas in very small numbers are going to get smoked. I'm going to just keep rallying in units now. I built more pylons at home to make sure I can stay ahead. Going to rally again against some more units. +1 attack is obviously doing super good. Mutas are going down really fast, and all these zerglings are getting two-shotted by all my zealots. Static defenses are very important. Once again, I'm still cleaving through those. He's holding alright to some extent here. He needs to focus a little bit harder on... I don't know really what to say. He's got to focus a little bit harder, maybe pulling his drones out a little bit sooner. This next warp in here, I'm keeping my stalkers alive, which is the really important thing I want in this. The zealots are there just to tank damage. The stalkers are what's going to deal it mostly for me. Taking out these overlords might have been a good move for me as well, as he could have got supply blocked with that. Now come out the workers. I'm not too worried about them getting a surround on my stalkers here. I know there's no real damage dealers with him. There's no crawlers, there's no roaches. Still nothing but zealots now. I have enough stalkers to deal with any mutas that pop out. Any GG's out. Which is a good timing. I'd see a lot of players try to milk this as long as they can, but I was obviously going to be able to crush this and move into his main afterwards. I didn't play super well, and there was a lot of opportunities for me to get beaten, but I thought it was a really interesting game to look at how we could have done a bit better. If we look at earlier on, where the Zerg tried to break down this wall, you've got to decide early on if you really want to go for that kind of bust, or because just lucking out sometimes works, but if it doesn't, you commit a lot. He lost a lot of Zerglings and didn't get any real damage done. If he had banelings, maybe he could have got that. If you wanted to go into Mutalisks, which is what he wanted to do with those 3 bases there, that's fine. But if you scout that attack coming at you, once again, you got to hunt down that probe, because those forward warp-ins is what got me that win. If I couldn't have warped in this close, I would have had to fall back. There would have been nothing I could have done. I did throw down cannons at home to deal with the mutas as they came in, just to be sure. But if you see the attack coming, his crawlers were out way too late, and he didn't have enough units in place. He wanted to get his mutas out to deal with it, but he wouldn't have them in enough numbers to really take that win. For me, I needed to get my work gate done a lot faster. I needed to have my pylons and my scouting out sooner, and if I had, I might have actually come and taken out this 3rd base, and then came into the natural, and put myself in a bit better of a position. Did manage to keep my spending pretty low. His problem with his larva is being able to produce units that actually mattered. Maybe having roaches would have helped him out a little bit more, or having his crawlers done. If his crawlers were done, probably would have held it no problem. Anyways, a bit more of a simple Protoss vs Zerg game by Shawnee. Just learning a little bit more right now, so I'm enjoying it, and I should have some more games for you guys in the next little bit.